Hello and or welcome back to the channel is probably what you're saying to me. This is about 7 weeks later after the Chinese Grand Prix Friday. I had 5 weeks off with the cancellation of Bahrain and Saudi, and yet I decided to do this on the Thursday before the Miami Grand Prix. Yes, 7 weeks. 7 weeks since the Chinese Grand Prix, which has also meant that I've forgotten some of the stuff that happened, so I had to watch the highlights. But I remember a bit of the stuff now. So let's get straight into first the upgrades. Oh, why do I not have this ready? Not many teams brought upgrades to China. Oh, I should also say, on top of the fact that it's 7 weeks late, it will have this video will have the late tag on, so if you are deciding to watch despite that, then I am still going to only talk about the stuff that happened on the Friday, nothing that happens on the Saturday or the Sunday of the Chinese Grand Prix or the Japanese Grand Prix in its entirety. So basically anything that happened after that day, I'm just going to try and ignore. If that's a problem, you shouldn't be watching something that has the late label on it. And if it doesn't have the late label on it anymore, then you don't mind that anyway because it's going to be like a month from now, and we're going to have. Well, to be fair, we'll have only had one more race, so hopefully two. I assume, yeah, this time next month will be the end of May. We should have Canada by now. So, the upgrades heading into Canada. Nothing for McLaren, nothing for Mercedes, nothing for Red Bull. The first upgrade began with Ferrari. Only upgrade listed is a performance local load update to the Halo. A winglet was added to the little Halo pillar, which you can see in the image there. All images are from the FIA's official accounts on Facebook. I assume they're on the other platforms as well. I just don't have the other platforms. Interesting that they didn't mention their Macarena wing, but hey. Next up was Visa Cash App Racing Bulls, bringing a update to the rear corner for performance and flow conditioning. Just a profile modification to the brake duct winglets. Can't really see it in this image, but you wouldn't be able to see it much anyway. No updates for Aston Martin, and the updates to the Haas car was a update to the rear impact structure for performance and local load. Winglet placed on the top of the rear impact structure. You might be able to see it in that image, but it is a little difficult to see, so I don't think you can. And then Audi bringing updates to their car as well. One for the front wing, performance local load, updated wing flap and end plate geometry, which you can see in this image, but obviously you won't be able to tell what the difference is. And a second update to the nose, not in general, just second update this week. You know what I mean. Performance local load updated nose design. Don't remember what it looked like in Australia, but maybe that's something I should do. That's something I'll think about for Canada onwards because it's going to be too late to look at it for Japan and Miami. And last but not least, no upgrades for Alpine, so on to Cadillac, who brought an updated diffuser for performance, trailing edge, detailed changes on the diffuser winglet cascades. So just the little winglets below the beamish wing. It's not beam wing anymore. That's kind of regulations. Um, I don't have a map. I have a mouse, but I can't point to the image. And the mirror stay was updated for structural improvement. Small leading edge surface changes, which obviously because they had one brake for each driver in Australia, if I can remember correctly. On to practice then. Talk briefly about practice before moving on to the main sprint qualifying for the Friday, of course, as a sprint weekend. Mercedes looks pretty decent. McLaren's in there as well, having a couple of offs at turn one. Lando having an incident with Hamilton in the session. Hamilton going no, yes, Hamilton going slow into the final corner, and Norris catching up to him. Went down the inside, looked like he was ahead, but then Lewis just sped up again, and Lando was like, "Oh, this is going to be close." Looked up a little bit, and they had a little bit of contact. Don't believe there was any damage, but a little bit messy from the two of them there. I'd probably say it was more on Lewis because I'm not sure what Lewis was doing. I guess maybe preparing for another lap. But it wasn't clear that's what he was doing. So Lando went down the inside. I have that. I have got a nagging feeling that I've got that the wrong way round. Either way, Hamilton had a little spin at turn 6 later in the weekend, later in the session. Anyway, not getting fully up to date with the car. If I remember correctly, he just went into turn 6 with the straight mode enabled and tapped the brakes, and the car just spun a little bit like Max in qualifying from Australia, but less severe because of a lower speed and obviously no gravel and barrier for Lewis to hit. Other than that, Ferrari's looking decent-ish with Leclerc obviously up there in 5th and Hamilton 6th. So it looks like McLaren's are going to be the ones that are challenging Mercedes this weekend around. Let me just make sure that the F is muted. It is. Yes, Lewis was the one going slow on the outside into turn the final corner, and Lando on the inside. Red Bull looking very off the pace. Not much from them throughout practice. Obviously, a lot more to come from them in the sprint qualifying. Who's 5th? Audi looking pretty good with Hulkenberg in 9th. Gabby a little bit lower down in 12th, but they are the next best team overall. Ollie up there in 7th. Have Ocon way down in 16th. So it looks like it could be a fight between the Haas and the Audis, with Gasly popping in there as usual. Colapinto down 16th. He had a spin himself. A little bit like Lewis's and Max's spin, where he just tapped the brakes and the car just rotated. As the commentator says, it was an unusual one because you don't is Going into turn 9, the double left-hander, don't tap the brake. You don't hit the brakes that hard anyway. You just tap them, and the car just said, "You spin me right round," and spun. But Franco was able to get away undamaged. Ollie also had a spin going through turn two, coming out the exit at turn 2 into turn 3. I hate how those are numbered. No, the turn 2 is still the right hander, isn't it? Turn 3 is left hander. Either way, coming out of that little stretch, heading on to the first straight mode, spun round right in front of Stroll. To be honest, to be honest, doesn't make sense. It's not the right word. Yeah, spun right in front of Stroll. There was another car behind them, those two as well. Ollie lucky not to be collected by Stroll. But despite that, obviously it's a good practice up in 7th. Speaking of Stroll and the Aston Martins, not so good from them as usual, 18th and 20th, but at least they were able to complete a good chunk of laps this time around. Obviously, Stroll didn't complete many, if at all any, in Australia, so good for them that they can get a little bit more on the board. Cadillac going around as usual. However, Perez had a couple of issues which did not allow him to take part in the sprint qualifying. Williams just went around, and last but not least, RB looking pretty good with Lawson up in 11th, trying to make sure that the F1 world doesn't forget about him after Arvid's good performance in Australia. And speaking of Arvid, got a little bit unlucky as engine decided to conk out and blow smoke on him in the cockpit, and he had to stop out on circuit very early on, I believe. Don't know the exact timings because it was like 2 a.m. my time when it happened. I woke up like 30 minutes before the sprint qualifying. Moving on then to those sprint qualifying results, where Q1 was obviously Perez, Bottas, Stroll, Alonso, Albon, and Sainz. The Williams pair looked like they could have got through. Colapinto was on the cusp a little bit, but a lock up for Albon heading into Sector 3 and just slow pace from both Williams meant that they couldn't quite challenge for SQ2. And then obviously Cadillac at the back and Aston just in front of them. In Q2, it was Colapinto, Lindblad, Bortoleto, Lawson, Ocon, and Hulkenberg. Major events from this session: Lando and Antonelli. Antonelli coming out the pit lane and sat on the apex of turn 1 as Lando was coming through. As I said at the beginning, I will pretend that Saturday and whatever happened on Saturday did not exist yet. In my opinion, it doesn't matter whether Lando is on a lap or not. Impeding's impeding. Like it doesn't. If you're blocking traffic, it doesn't matter whether you're in a car or if you're on as a person or on a bike. Like you're still blocking traffic. You should be penalised all the same. And we already have set precedents with an example that I don't necessarily agree with because of the way in which it happened, context obviously, but George and Max in 2024 Qatar. Max on a outlap, so was George. George comes flying through the next corner, almost runs into Max, gets Max a two-place penalty. So I think, should it be more if it's on an actual flying lap? No, I don't think it should be more if it's on an actual flying lap. It should be more based on how bad it blocked, not what laps everyone was on. So yeah, ideally I'd give Antonelli two place. Would drop him a couple of, obviously, two positions, but we'll see. Other than that, the Red Bulls almost got knocked out. Max given a toe to Lawson. Not quite getting Lawson through, but if it did, it would have knocked out Max. I believe Max was the one in 10th place, not Hajar, but had either of them, either of the RBs improved or Hulkenberg, if any two of those three had improved enough, it would have knocked out both Red Bulls. So, it didn't, however, so they made it to SQ3. SQ3, for which, in reverse order, Hajar, Behrman, Verstappen, Gasly, Charles Leclerc, Piastri, Hamilton, Norris, Antonelli, and George Russell taking pole position for the sprint. Not really that close, to be honest. 6/10 to Norris in third. Ferraris, a little bit disappointing from them. Looked like they could have been closer, weren't. And it allowed McLaren's to split the Ferraris and also get ahead of them with one of their cars. Red Bull, on the other hand, looking even worse. Verstappen being beat by Gasly, and Hajar making it to only 10th after qualifying third last time out in Australia. Not the path that Red Bull would like to be going down. If that's going to continue, Hajar will be starting 17th in Japan. A bit extreme, but hey. Very good job from Russell again. Obviously, still had to beat his teammate and did so by a good margin. I believe 3/10. Doesn't quite show gaps on this image, which is annoying. But yeah, still a pretty good job. What I will say, FOM, didn't quite watch it because I had it on in the background whilst I was getting ready for the day, and only saw it afterwards. They were pausing the telemetry. Now, supposedly, they weren't, and it was a glitch. I'm not sure how much I believe you. But especially since I haven't seen any laps, to be fair. But if there were any other laps with telemetry and they showed Mercedes's, if they showed any cars, yeah, Mercedes, because supposed glitch was just Mercedes. If they showed the telemetry for them and it showed up, then I would not trust. But if it was glitching every time, then fair enough. But I haven't seen any laps to say otherwise. And we know how F1 are already hiding comments, so why not hide any more? No, why not hide more stuff? This feels weird to talk about knowing stuff that happens after. Anyway, yeah, that's that. For whatever reason, the Friday stuff only has quali lap pace, which is annoying. No race pace stuff, but it predicted Mercedes on top, Ferrari behind, McLaren just behind them, Alpine ahead of the midfield, with Audi just behind, Red Bull firmly in the midfield, just ahead of Haas, RB a little bit further back, Williams way further back, Aston way further back, and then Cadillac even further back, which somewhat represents how qualifying went. Ferrari a little disappointing, McLaren punching a little bit above their weight, Audi a little bit disappointing, not getting either car into Q3. Haas, pretty good job with them and into Q3. Everyone else, RB a little bit above their weight as well. So, what did everyone say? I'm going to try and keep this shorter this time around because we're already 20 minutes through, and the previous 3 have been 50 minutes, and I don't want to do that. So, right, this is where I have the team images. I've already talked about all teams. So, starting with the pole position man, George Russell. Yes. I was going to go backwards, but too late now. I should have gone backwards. It's too late now. P1, first sprint pole of career, and he's been feeling pretty good all day. Managed to put everything together. So, yeah. Save money if you're looking into the betting scene. And looks like he's going to be well off for a championship this year. Hopefully Ferrari can challenge McLaren as well. Obviously, me as Ferrari Charles fan, I'm going to want Ferrari to be the one to get in there. But if any of them can get in there, maybe even just Antonelli himself, it'd be a pretty good season. After that, Antonelli in P2, front row, saying congrats to George. And yes, he didn't have the best of races last season. I think he was only just last of the front runners. I think he beat out everyone in the midfield and managed to somehow get best driver of the day. So it looks like he's already on a better trajectory for a weekend than last season. Lando looking good. See if he can get McLaren's first pole of the year, podium, despite obviously it being only sprint. The sprint not going to count for much more than that, but yes, still good points for them and crucial points if they can improve to be fighting Mercedes properly towards the middle and end part of the season. Lewis, a little bit disappointing from him, I'd say. From both Ferraris, I would have expected them both to be on the second row, maybe challenging for the front row with Antonelli, but 6/10 off of George is not where I was expecting them, especially with the Macarena wing. They did bring that, wasn't mentioned in the upgrade notes, and they did not run the wing at in the sprint qualifying. Obviously, they're still having trouble with getting it to work safely without it possibly breaking or whatever. We have no idea what could be the issue. It's most likely because it's breaking. Because I've seen CSD stuff on it, and it looks like it's a pretty big advantage. Oscar, can he get points for the first time this season? We'll see in the sprint. Obviously, this race last season was his first pole and converted it into a win. Not able to. It doesn't look like he's going to be able to repeat that this time around. Off the back of Lando by a couple of attempts. Well, I say a couple of attempts, a couple of hundredths actually. these three were pretty close together. Charles continued to have bad form around China, never on the podium here, and it looks like he's not going to get the podium in the sprint. Would have expected a lot more from him. He was 4/10 off Lewis, which was surprising. Just battery, I assume, because this is the problem with doing it so late. Yeah, battery probably, and just no pace in that Ferrari compared to his teammate. Gier, however, has found a lot of pace in that Alpine. Wasn't expecting Alpine to be quite at the top of the midfield, but with Colapinto towards the bottom of the midfield still, I guess I can kind of count that as correct. It is very nice to see Gasly performing as he should up in SQ3, beating his old teammate Max, who is not having fun with these regulations. Couldn't push, went off in practice? No, went off in quali because of an Alpine, I'm assuming Gasly because I think it was SQ3, on the exit of the hairpin, and Max supposedly distracted by it, had to go offline a little bit and went wide through the final corner. Personally, I don't see the argument. Yeah, sure, the Alpine is there on the exit, but I would have thought myself it would be fine, but I don't know. I'm obviously not a driver, that's why I'm the one talking here, not the one driving. Ollie, nice job from him to get into Q3, and hopefully he can capitalise on this to try and get some points. Obviously, at the moment, he won't be getting any because he'll be 9th, but see if he can continue on his good form from Australia. Someone that wants to repeat their form for Australia will be Hadjar, obviously retired quite early on into the race, so he'll be looking to score first points of the season in sprint. Probably unlikely, seeing as he was quite far off the lap times ahead of him in SQ3, and he has to make those positions up to get even a chance of the points. Hulkenberg in 11th. Audi were supposedly going to be doing a little bit better. Shame that neither of them could get into SQ3 like some of the other midfielders. I was going to say like Australia, but I don't think they got into Q3 at all with either of them. So we'll see if they can improve to get some points in the sprint. Ocon a little bit further off his teammate again. Just a little bit unlucky. It was very close between margins. I believe Nico was like 500ths or 5,000ths away from getting into Q3, and Ocon couldn't have been that much further back. But even if he wasn't that much further back, he would still be a little bit off his teammate because those 500ths or thousandths would have been to the Red Bulls, not his teammate. So hopefully Ocon can repeat what they did last year. Maybe not in the sprint, obviously, because no pit stops in the sprint, but a good strategy in the race, and he could get some points, but they'll have to learn from the sprint first, of course. On to the RB then. Liam Lawson made it to 13th, a little bit around the area that they expected, and Liam showing that it's not just Arvid that can perform. Obviously, we'll have to wait and see if he can get off the line well this time around, or if he's gonna get an engine problem that just won't let him pull away. Gabby in P14. A little bit disappointing from him after his good performance in Australia. I was expecting a little bit higher up, maybe not exactly Q3, but at least challenging for it, like where his teammate is. But instead he was a little bit further back down the order. Arvid didn't get much running in practice, of course, with the aforementioned problem, but able to beat Franco is still a pretty decent job and not that far from his teammate of Lawson, 2 positions ahead of him. Speaking of Franco, a little bit poor, way far off his teammate Gasly. Gasly making it to Q3, and Colapinto not even close to making it to Q3. It needs to pick up the pace a little bit. I believe there wasn't anything, just he was slow, didn't have the pace. Carlos Sainz. Williams are very poor this season. It's a shame. Hopefully they can improve. But P17 is where they reside for now. Could have got through, but wasn't that close. But managed to beat his teammate Alex, who, why is that? Anyway, don't know why that did that. Albon, a little bit off his teammate, did lock up on his final run going into sector 3, so maybe could have been a little bit more of an improvement. Would it have got him to Q3? At Q2, I don't think so, because he was still like half a second off Colapinto or whoever was 16th in Q1. So still a little bit of face that they need to find over at the Williams team. Alonso made it 1 position further back in 19th, ahead of his teammate. All you could ask for from the Aston man at the moment. See if he can finish this sprint based on how long he can drive the car for before nerve damage. When he said just before Australia he won't be able to finish the sprint, but I'd hope that they can, so that they can collect some data, and I'd hope that Aston have improved enough that Alonso can finish the sprint. Because while I don't care for Aston in the constructors, it's a shame to see Alonso, such a great driver that he is, towards the back of the field. It's not where the previous champion should be. He should be fighting for at least points, potentially podiums. But no, that's a dream that has now been disintegrated, basically. Stroll. My mouse keeps double clicking and I don't know why. I've made it so it's less sensitive, but apparently it's still as sensitive. Stroll, P20, as expected, beat the one man that he should, and yeah, off his teammate. Not much. Lucky to not be collected by Behrman in practice. Not much to talk about for Stroll. And likewise for Valtteri. Oh my god, twice in a row. Not much to talk about for Valtteri as well. His car allowed him to drive in SQ1, but no pace to go further. Should be able to finish the sprint, but we'll see. Unfortunately, his teammate Checo was not able to take part, and Cadillac just using the time to make sure that the issue was completely solved instead of sending Checo out with a car that might not be solved and then just it conking out anyway. So, good choice there from Cadillac, I'd say. Shame that they couldn't have the two of them running. Checo hasn't participated in a qualifying session at all yet, I don't think. I think he couldn't partake in qualifying in Australia. So, no, that was Stroll. It was Stroll and Sainz that couldn't partake, with Max crashing as well. So, yeah. No. No no improvement from Cadillac, but it's to be expected in their second race. So, hopefully they can finish the sprint with both of their cars and collect some valuable data heading into the later sessions of the weekend and then obviously the season as a whole. That is it for the sprint qualifying, the Friday of the Chinese GP. Join me again for the sprint and the qualifying. It's I don't know the timings of when these are going to go out. They're probably just going to go out as soon as they're done. But to make sure that I can get everything out for Miami. But yes, obviously I'll talk about the Chinese GP Saturday, as if Chinese GP Sunday and everything after did not exist. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.